Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Joseph Lopez. Let's take a look at our headlines. Assurances from the Minister of Trade and Investments and Communications Minister that TNT economy is doing well. East Port of Spain and San Fernando to benefit from 2 women's cities, courtesy the Ministry of Gender, Youth and Child Development, funded by the IDB. And the Minister of Energy and Energy Affairs discloses a silver lining to government's huge oil and gas subsidy bill. Welcome and thank you for joining us. Top of the news. The Ministry of Gender, Youth and Child Development has approved 2 women's cities in East Port of Spain and in San Fernando on a 2-phase basis, geared towards addressing issues affecting women in the society. Women in society will now have a space to call their own, where their needs and unique demands can be met. This initiative will be funded by the Inter-American Development Bank, IDB, and has the potential to change how women view themselves in today's society.
Cabinet has approved plans to establish 2 Ciudad Mujer, or women's cities, in Trinidad and Tobago. This was announced by Minister of Gender, Youth and Child Development, the Honorable Clifton Decoto, during Thursday's post-cabinet news briefing. According to the minister, the project would be funded by the Inter-American Development Bank to the tune of US $405,000.
It is geared towards addressing issues affecting women in the society through the facilitation of essential services offered or coordinated by our comprehensive service centers. These 2 cities will take the shape of centers and communities in East Port of Spain, Phase 1, and San Fernando, Phase 2.
The Honourable Minister said the objective of the centres is to comprehensively address the issues affecting women by improving their living conditions through the facilitation of essential services. The centres would provide direct needed services to women as well as reference mechanisms that point women to suitable institutions that provide the required support outside of each centre.
Services to be provided at these centres include sexual and reproductive health, economic autonomy, collective education and violence against women within the provision of the child care services. It is envisioned that the concentration of public services in a one-stop shop will make it possible to improve inter-institutional coordination and enhance the quality of the services provided.
Minister Decoto stated that a situational analysis of women in Trinidad and Tobago done in 2013 found that East Port of Spain is one of the most economically depressed regions in Trinidad and Tobago and is characterized by high rates of crime and unemployment that affect the over 92,000 residents who occupy the estimated 27,000 households there. 70% of these homes are headed by women. Meanwhile, the analysis also found that the southern and eastern regions of Trinidad experience higher indices of multidimensional poverty, which includes education, health and living standards, than those in the western and northern regions. The centres would be supported by a program steering committee and a technical working group which would be made up of representatives of various government ministries, non-governmental organizations and the relevant city corporations. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
Minister of Trade, Investments and Communications, Senator the Honourable Vasant Bharat, is assuring the public that the local economy is doing well. He gives the assurance while making his contribution during the recent Senate sitting.
During his contribution to the Finance Bill 2014, Trade, Investment and Communication Minister Vasant Bharat says the government has held the economy's hand and steadied the nation through the turbulent financial times of recent years. Minister Bharat says it must be noted that the government did not inherit an easy financial situation, but still made the most of it nonetheless.
In 2010, when this government came into office, inflation was spiraling out of control. In July of 2010, in fact, Mr. President, inflation was running at 16%. Food inflation prices was well over 30% at that point in time. For the first time in the history of this country, in fact, for the first time in 17 years, this country experienced negative growth. In fact, since 1993, and that negative growth amounted to about 4%. So that is the context in which we must look and understand where the economy stands today, Mr. President.
The trade minister says despite the financial havoc facing many countries across the world, the situation in Trinidad and Tobago remains stable and is continually growing.
Everywhere around us, we see that there are severe economic issues and problems. And here in Trinidad, as the Minister of Finance would have outlined, and I want to just reinforce, our macroeconomic fundamentals remain extremely strong. Our international reserves, close to $10 billion, representing 12 months of import cover. Our Heritage and Stabilization Fund at 30 billion TT dollars and more, representing a 60% increase over what we inherited from the PNM in 2010.
Minister Barath highlights that the country's unemployment and inflation rates have now been brought under control to less than 5%. He also adds that the national debt to GDP ratio is now at 45%, one of the lowest among developing countries across the world. Gregory McBurney, News 4.
The Minister of Energy and Energy Affairs, Senator the Honourable Kevin Ramnarine, says despite the huge oil and gas subsidy bill the government is burdened with, there is a silver lining to the issue. He reveals the upside as he makes this contribution in a recent Senate sitting.
Energy Minister Kevin Ramnarine says the government is still saddled with an annual $4.4 billion TT dollar bill to cover the oil and gas subsidy. He makes this revelation while delivering his contribution to the debate on the Finance Bill 2014.
In the fiscal year ended September 30th, 2013, that is fiscal 2013, the subsidy was $4.4 billion Trinidad and Tobago dollars. And the levy, which is the levy paid by oil and gas companies as a contribution to treating with that subsidy, was 603 million Trinidad and Tobago dollars. So it means that the state roughly carries about 80 to 85% of the subsidy, and the oil companies carry the remainder. And that 4.4 billion is approximately what we also had in fiscal 2012 and in fiscal 2011. So the subsidy is running at approximately $4.4 billion per year.
However, Minister Ramnarine says there is some good news despite the large figure facing the government. He explains the use of diesel has reduced and says this is good news as the subsidy for diesel is far greater than that provided for gas.
In fiscal 2010, total diesel sales in this country was 650 million liters of diesel. That was 2010. Fiscal 2011, it was 627 million liters of diesel. And then in fiscal 2012, there was a collapse in diesel sales to 539 million liters of diesel. And in the last fiscal year, it is 564. So there has been clearly a reduction in the demand for diesel in Trinidad and Tobago.
Trinbagonians pay $1 per gallon of diesel compared to the $4 per gallon, which Americans are forced to pay for the product. Meanwhile, the minister is taking the opportunity to highlight the continuous growth of the economy. He says although he is the Minister of Energy, he often attempts to use other indicators apart from those in the energy industry to determine if the entire economy is growing.
I was informed by TCL, Mr. President, that cement sales in the year 2013 was 15% more than cement sales in the year 2012. And Senator Danushra Mahabir would know that I always look for non-economic proxies in the economy as an indicator of economic growth. In the United Kingdom, they look at the volume of shipping taking place on the Thames River as an indicator of the buoyancy or lack thereof of the British economy. And cement sales is certainly one indicator, Mr. President, of a buoyant economy, and we see that evidence all around us. There's construction taking place. There is the aquatic center. There is the Children's Hospital in Couva. You drive through St. Clair and Woodbrook, there are buildings going up everywhere. And of course, there is the government's, the flagship project, the highway to Point Fortin.
Gregory McBurney, News 4.
When we come back, we'll tell you about an outreach program in San Juan. Stay with us. Welcome back. The Land Settlement Agency launched its community outreach program in San Juan. The Honorable Jairam Simangal, Minister of Land and Marine Resources, says through this program, government's initiatives will be championed for proper and effective management of state lands.
Speeding up the application process. This is one of the aims of the Land Settlement Agency, which launched its community outreach program in San Juan at the office of the Member of Parliament for San Juan Barataria, Dr. Fuad Khan. According to the Honorable Jairam Simangal, Minister of Land and Marine Resources, this new program is geared towards the constituency office, explaining that the agency will station an officer in every constituency office at least once a month to answer question inquiries from applicants. This is being done because of the daily staff restrictions, the minister said. The Land Settlement Agency, which functions under the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Land and Marine Resources, is tasked with regularizing certain squatters.
We are trying our best to speed up the processing of these applications. This in mind, we are launching this program, which is really a community outreach program. But this program is geared towards the constituency office. We are going to station an officer in every constituency office at least once per month because of the staff restriction. Once per month, we are going to station an officer for the entire day with the Member of Parliament. So it may not necessarily fall in on the Tuesday that the Member of Parliament operates, but it can fall in on any other day where persons from the constituency can come and meet and greet with the officer from the Land Settlement Agency. We have targeted every constituency.
Dr. The Honorable Fuad Khan, Minister of Health and Member of Parliament for San Juan Barataria, said there is a special need for this program in his constituency. He reflected on how legislation to regularize squatters came about in 1995 under the then UNC administration.
You remember that there was a serious problem in those days with squatting as well as people having their areas broken down, etc. And the Honorable Prime Minister today, Ms. Kamala Prasad Bisesa, she was then First Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs. And they went ahead and they went about it together with the direction from Mr. Pandey and brought out certain acts and bills, etc., to make sure that squatters, etc., and people who were homeless and needed lands were given the tenure of rights of service and comfort. And here we are today with Minister Jairam Simangal bringing it closer to us. And for that I thank him and welcome him to the constituency of Barataria San Juan, where we do have a great need for that service, because not everyone could pay for the houses that are being delivered as we speak.
The minister said within the next few days, the first batch of leases for the Land of the Landless program will be distributed. Felicia Wilson-Mon, News 4.
The Trinidad and Tobago Electricity Commission is continuing to illuminate communities across Trinidad and Tobago, one recreation ground at a time. More than 220 sites have thus far been lit under the state agency, with the Ministry of Public Utilities playing a vital role.
The Barapore Recreation Ground has not only a new look, but also a new name, thanks to the efforts of the Minister of Public Utilities and TNTEC's public lighting program.
It is with a sense of pride that I address you this evening to demonstrate yet another successful upgrade of a recreation ground for the full use of your community. The installation of the 6 17-meter poles and 48 1500-watt luminaires you see before you firmly establishes the Barapore Recreation Ground as part of the growing network of recreational spaces that afford communities the ability to take care of their health by exercising beyond hours of daylight.
The TNTEC chairman explained that the recreation ground joined the 221 grounds, parks and courts throughout the country that have benefited from illumination upgrades carried out by TNTEC to date. She said TNTEC is currently working on no less than 42 similar projects across Trinidad and Tobago and thanked the many stakeholders who have assisted in the realization of the successful projects thus far.
Additionally, the Commission is currently working on several initiatives to benefit citizens in South Trinidad. Among these initiatives is the establishment of over 1,000 new connections for HTC homeowners in Mora Heights, Rio Claro, Lakeview, Point Fortin, and Cypress Boulevard, Union Hall, a feat that contributes in no small measure to the development of our national patrimony.
The Barpo Recreation Ground had been formally renamed the Darenganga Recreation Ground after the internationally celebrated cricketer and sports ambassador who grew up in Barpo. Ganga addressed those gathered, paying his respects to those who helped in the development of the ground to what it is currently.
First and foremost, I'd like to thank the Honourable Minister of Public Utilities, our MP for the area, the Honourable Nizam Baksh, for inviting me and for bestowing me with the honour of having a ground in the community be named after me. I know, you championed this. I know that the Barpo Police Community Group championed this. And last but not least, I'd like to thank the chairman of the Penal Debe Regional Corporation, Mr. Premchand Suku, and his council for recognizing the efforts of myself in terms of cricket and the contribution that I would have made to the sport. All of you would know that it was not really an easy task growing up in Barpo and having a big dream of playing international cricket. And today, I stand here very proud to say that the young people of the community of Barpo is better off than when I was growing up.
Minister of Public Utilities and Member of Parliament for Barpo, the Honourable Nizam Baksh, outlined several initiatives that are currently underway in his constituency and assured that many more will currently gauge in his attention.
So when viewed from the perspective of the projects that have been completed and that are currently underway in this community, the lighting of this ground is just one of the many ways in which we, the government of Trinidad and Tobago, seek to serve you. Physical fitness psychologists and medical experts confirm daily that well-maintained and illuminated recreation grounds provide a wide variety of advantages to the communities that surround them, from improved physical and mental health at the individual or group level to a greater sense of community pride, togetherness, and social relations. But the results are even more far-reaching when viewed and analyzed for societal impact. Indeed, statistics can confirm results such as decreases in the incidence of crime, higher self-esteem among youth, increased solidarity and cohesion among members of the community. All of these are the downstream effects of community-planned recreational activities.
He urged the residents to make the most of the facilities and the new lights, which came at a cost of $600,000. Chairman of the Penal Debe Regional Corporation, Premchand Suku, called on the burgesses to be responsible and understanding when it came to the use of electricity.
Let us preserve electricity. To every second, to every minute, to every day, we waste electricity. TNTEC has to pay for it. So I am saying, ladies and gentlemen, let us enjoy the facilities. Let us take advantage to ensure that all of us in our hundreds will gather here on evenings and take full advantage in taking part of sports and other recreation facilities.
Minister Baksh has called on the regional corporation to see that a jogging track be built on the Darenganga Recreation Ground to better serve those who make use of it. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
Sports news when we return. Stay with us. Welcome back. The government's Sports for All initiative continues to touch individuals and communities nationwide. The latest to benefit from this drive for a more active and healthy nation is Union Village. Here's Wayne Cunningham with more.
The quiet Union Village in Claxton Bay can now enjoy the area's recreation ground, thanks to the Ministry of Sports implementation arm, the Sports Company of Trinidad and Tobago. The ground, which is neatly tucked away amidst houses and hills, can now benefit from an upgrade of the existing pavilion, outfield and turf wicket, practice nets and multi-purpose court. The Honourable Anil Roberts, Minister of Sport, expressed his satisfaction with the work, saying, "The ground in Union Village is an example of the nationally focused, community-centred development of the Ministry of Sport and the government working for you. Rural communities deserve the same quality facilities that you would expect to see in other areas. Many of our most successful athletes got their formative lessons on a recreation ground. We intend to maintain this tradition for generations to come. Keys to the facility were handed over to the Couva Tabaki Talparo Regional Corporation on April 7th. The corporation will now be responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of the facility and outfield and guide the villagers on how it can best be utilized to serve their needs. The ground was also outfitted with perimeter fencing, 2 goalposts, and 4 light towers for nighttime activity. Union Recreation Ground is the latest in a series of handovers which the Ministry of Sport intends to conduct during the year. Wayne Cunningham, News 4 Sports.
The Sister Isle is gearing up for a fierce week of fashion. I'll tell you more when we return. Lights, camera, action. Tobago Fashion Week is in the spotlight now, and the event is preparing for its 4th edition and promises to showcase a fusion of culture, fashion and art. News 4 was privileged to attend the launch, where the media got a preview of the event, which will take place on the Sister Isle, Tobago. Tobago Fashion Week at a glance. Hurdles to cross and obstacles to overcome along the way. But in the end, the final product is stunning.
Ups and downs, highs and lows, arguments, crying, smiles, and lots of laughs. Meeting sane people, meeting crazy people. All in all, it has been a great 4 years.
However, the organizers of the event are adamant that TFW 2014 will be another success story as in previous years. However, getting past and changing the widely accepted notion of fashion as just entertainment is one of the biggest challenges Designers United Stores of TFW says they are facing.
We were found accidentally en route to get silks in the East, and now we are no longer accidental or apologetic in making our proclamation that we have style. We are luring the world to us to come and buy our silks, come and wear our silks. Starts with a change because we need to have psyche shifts locally, because our consumers have to also belong. They have also to identify the brands and want to not just patronize the designer, but they need to want to reflect us, a sense of we-ness.
Mr. Young says since 2011, they have been producing TFW and have interacted in varying facets of industry building, including business, culture, finance, fashion, art, entertainment, film, tourism, and infrastructural development.
Tobago Fashion Weekend is definitely forging ahead and sustaining itself by constantly transitioning in the way we output what we are doing, and we celebrate the fusion of the art students with the traditional designers to come up with new formulae, new methodologies for branding style.
He says by no stretch of imagination is fashion just entertainment, but entertainment is part of what fashion is, while commerce is the end result of all industries, including fashion. Designers United Stores says it has discovered a path towards sustainable development for fashion through its Sustainable Circle model. The objective for 2014 are clearly defined within the components of the Sustainable Circle. TFW is the second stop on the Sustainable Circle. The organizers say this event is equally as important to longevity of the industry and its potential success.
In the world of business and NGOs, we are mindful that many, even most, don't make it to number 4. So we consider ourselves lucky we have been able to weather that storm. Our commitment to not only our vision, but each other is non-wavering. During the past 4 years, we have set ourselves apart, sometimes fortunately and unfortunately. Unique is generally an advantage, but we have found that it has its drawbacks, which include constant scrutiny. What we do, how we do it, how well we do it, why we do it. But I am here to say such scrutiny has challenged us to constantly bring our A game.
Entering its 4th year's fashion event on the international circuit, they are still in the incubation phase and are hopeful for phase 2, years 5 and beyond. Since TFW entered into a market as an event, it has attracted persons young and mature to events, seats, workshops, schools, tours, websites, Facebook pages, Twitter accounts and phone lines. Fashion professionals, buyers, international models and celebrities have graced our shores to impart their knowledge and to help in the marketing of this event after seeing the offerings. Tobago Fashion Week is and will continue to be the branding component with the Sustainable Circle. And that story brings us to the end of our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Joseph Lopez. Thank you for watching.